I can barely hear you. What in the world? That's all I hear. I'm gonna be melting in this mask. It's hot in here. I can still barely hear you. It's hard to understand what you're saying. I hear the
Check 1, 2, 3. Check.
Ah, there you go.
Okay. All right. There we go. Okay. We're good. Okay.
You say you really sounded like the devil.
That's good thing we got on here. Yeah.
Now, can you hear me through this mask?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
How could I not hear you?
Yeah, I'm gonna be some sweating already.
Yeah, well, that's what you get for being evil. Welcome, everybody. It's 1 minute before showtime, but we're already live. We've been I'm glad we did because we had to correct some audio issues. Get this there. Another Tuesday night terror. Yeah. So I want to, for the time being, I don't know if my friend Kevin is going to do a spirit box session tonight.
Well, I have a doll here.
You have a doll here. You don't have a doll
have a
there.
doll
You
right
don't have a doll there. You don't have a doll here. Maybe you have one there, but not here. I'm looking at
I
it.
have one
Here.
right here.
Oh, there, not here. You said
Yeah.
here. That's there. That's not here.
Oh, I should be out working in the woods, scaring children somewhere.
Yeah. I know why you got all those acres out there now, because nobody wants to live next to you.
That's funny.
Are you laughing? Is he laughing? Is he real? Or is it Memorex?
Memorex?
You know that old thing. Is it live?
That old tape junk.
So I thought we were streaming here on Edmond, Alabama. I don't see it. What's going on?
I guess we're still not streaming on My Haunted Dolls, are we?
No. The thing is, I switched because Melon is comparable.
Yeah.
But it's it's half the price that I was paying for StreamYard. So it's like, so it's like I'm into saving money, right? So I'm gonna have to figure out how to get you in there to be able to make the changes needed to add your YouTube channel. I don't know what's wrong with Facebook here. Just dead. What's wrong with Facebook? Oh, there we go. Okay, now we are there. My blurred face is on the screen. And let's see, do we have anybody else? No. So we got that. We're doing. Do what?
I need to share this to my pages over
Yeah,
here.
while you're doing that, I'm gonna do a little fun thing here. Are you ready?
Okay.
Take your time and share all over the place because here we go. This is a preview of what we're going to be talking about. These recordings come from the deepest, darkest places in the universe. Listen carefully. Don't go away, folks. We are here. For Tuesday nights, Abnormal Alabama, My Haunted Dolls. Listen, we're going to help you get through your nights. Are you ready?
Oh.
Yes. So first of all, Kevin is going to talk to the dead.
I'm going to talk to the dead.
He's going to talk to the dead.
If the dead aren't too scared of my face.
His magical powers. We summon up the dead. Join him. Yes. The dead. There.
And the box.
Him. Right there. Yeah.
Yes, me.
Yeah.
Me.
Yes. The
Me.
evil one.
Me.
Yes.
Yes.
Let's have evil laugh. Evil, evil laugh.
My evil laugh. What kind of look is that? It's like you need to have the clown mask on.
We're gonna spend 2 hours. We're gonna spend 2 hours just laughing evil laughs. We're gonna have an evil laugh contest. Kevin, go first. Okay, vote now.
Vote now.
Oh Lord. Okay. Kevin.
I have Tabitha,
Tabitha,
a beautiful little girl.
the doll from Hades.
But I don't know about that.
The bride of Satan himself.
Really? Oh, she's just a sweet little girl.
Yes.
I hope she's not scared of clowns.
Yes. I'm going to reach through the portal of hell and grab.
No.
So we're gonna do a spirit box session, and
yes.
then we're literally gonna visit the portals of hell.
The portal to hell. All righty, as my face continues to melt inside this hot mask, I want to try to get some information on little Tabitha because I don't have a story for this beautiful little doll.
By the way, I have to clarify something here. My friends, that is not the mask. He took the mask off. He took the mask off to reveal his true self.
It's lies. My head's not that hard. Okay. Okay. I don't have a story yet on little Tabitha. I don't know anything about her.
I'll give you a story on the bride of Satan.
This is not the bride of Satan. Don't listen to him. He's just a silly man. Okay, so we're going to see.
And what are you, silly? You're wearing. What are you?
So, let us try to do a spirit box session and find out what we can about little Tabitha here with the S box. There we go. Now, hello, Tabitha. My name, as you probably already know, is Kevin. Yep. And I'm so happy that you've been in my home for quite a little while now. Is your name actually Tabitha? Do I have that right? Do you like clowns? Does my clown face scare you? Is there a spirit with this little doll here in my hand? If so, I would love to hear from you. Please don't be shy. We would love to hear from you. Tell me how old you are. I heard the name Erica. Is that your name, Erica? What is this doll's name? Tickle. Do you like Tickle? I heard a good one. Nice. So how are you doing tonight? Tell me about yourself. Are you enjoying yourself here in my house? Are you happy here? With me? I guess that's a good thing. Are you happy with me? What do you like best about being here? Oh, talk over you. What do you like best about being here with me? If you speak close to this little box in my hand, I can hear you. Sure can. Come on, people. I think that's what I heard. How many spirits are here? So where do you come from? Okay, where are you going to be? I was going to be. Ouch. Out? Are you hurting? Or did you say out? You like going outside? Do you play with the cat that we have outside? They got a lot of property to play on, don't we? Yes. What is your name? Are you a little girl? Are you a good spirit? Did you live around here?
tickets.
Ready to live. So what would you like to say to us while we have the field happening? If you like to speak, it's the time to do so. We would love to hear from you.
Product.
This is a very beautiful dog. Does it belong to you? What's her name? Tell us about yourself.
Roll over.
Can you say that again, please? No. What would you like to say tonight? We had a beautiful day today, didn't we? The bright sun shining.
Other brand. Cautious.
And it should be a nice night.
Great job. Teaches you. It's hard to beat.
Well, we've only got a few minutes left. Is there anything you want to say before we close out?
It's already.
Anything that you're needing?
We're just. Open.
And now's the time to tell us anything you've got to say. How about, do you have any questions for me? Seems like I always ask you the questions in the spirit box section, but I've never inquired if you have any questions. We're going to talk about spooky stories and things about portals to hell tonight. What do you think about that? Well, we're going to close out, so it's your last chance. Anything you'd like to say, Robin?
Don't do it.
All right, well, thank you for being here. And I'll think, what was that again? That was a clear size voice. I didn't quite make out what it said. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close this out. I'm going to count down from 5. And when I get to 1 and say goodbye, everybody needs to have already backed away and gone back to where you come from. If we're closing the door. Ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thank you. Goodbye. Ooh, Tabitha, everybody, or Erica, as I heard on the spirit box.
We're having a slow. I don't know why with Halloween coming up. Why would we have such a slow night?
A slow night.
No
I don't-
visitors.
Oh,
No
no.
chat.
No
Nobody's
chat.
with us.
Well, what
And
the
this
hell
is
is going on?
Did we scare the hell out of them?
Maybe. I wonder if I take this creepy thing off for a little bit, will that bring them?
Well, what it will do is it'll make you feel better.
There we go.
All
Man,
right.
that's an interesting
So-
mask.
So Kevin got a hold of me yesterday and he said, "What are we going to talk about?" I said, "Let's talk about these portals to hell that pop up all over the world." And I'm going to start off with one of the most famous ones, the one from the Siberia, the Soviet Union, where they actually purportedly made a recording of the sounds from hell. Can you imagine that? So there was a team of Soviet engineers who purportedly were led by an individual by the name of Mr. Azarkov. In an unnamed place in Siberia, they had drilled a hole that was 8.9 miles deep before breaking through to a cavity. Intrigued by this unexpected discovery, they lowered an extremely heat-tolerant microphone along with other sensory equipment into the well, and the temperature deep within was 1,830 degrees Fahrenheit. Heat from the chamber of fire from which purportedly the tormented screams of the damned could be heard. Yeah, I thought of it, Kevin. The Soviet Union had, in fact, drilled a hole more than 12 or 7, I already covered that, didn't I? So, the story eventually, we're going to tie this into the Trinity Broadcasting Network. I'm sure you're familiar with that, TBN.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. They had heard about this. And there was a Norwegian teacher that heard the story on TBN while visiting the United States. And he perceived this to be mass gullibility. So he wrote to the network, originally claiming that he disbelieved this tale, but upon his return to Norway, he supposedly read an account of the story. And according to this guy, the story claimed not only that the cursed well was real, but that a bat-like apparition had risen out of it before blazing a trail across the Russian sky. And it kind of went on from there. But what I have for us here is the recording, if you would like to hear it, of these screaming souls from the pits. The pits, did I say pits of hell? You ready for this? Are you ready for this? Do you want to hear this?
Yeah.
Everybody turn your lights down low. Sit next to a dark window and get ready. You may recognize the voice, who knows? maybe your brother or sister who has passed away. Maybe you can hear them down there. Maybe they're screaming in pain and misery, eternity of iron sulfur. Could that be true? You be the judge. See, I don't know. What do you think, Kevin?
I don't know. That's creepy.
I honestly,
Scary. Sounds like people screaming.
I think that is people that. I think that's people that went to the wrong Mexican restaurant. Honestly,
Wrong Mexican restaurant.
I think that's the pain and suffering. Next morning they woke up and it's like, oh. Too many half-done tacos.
Tacos, burritos, chimichanga.
Yeah. So Kevin has had plenty of time since he doesn't do much anything. I understand he came up with a lot of these portals to hell stories that he's going to share. And I've actually, thanks to his sharing with me, somewhere here I've uploaded a bunch of these pictures. And I don't know which one he wants to see first.
Well, I think I'll share the ones I found. The one I've heard about the most, the 13 Steps to Hell. And in fact, there's not one place, but two. Yeah, there you go, the steps there.
Right there?
Yeah, right there. That's
right there. Okay, so we're gonna make it. We're gonna cover me up.
Not only is there's not just one location with this supposed 13 steps to hell, but there's two. But the most well-known, or the one you hear talked about the most maybe, is in Washington. The 13 steps down to hell in Maltby Cemetery in Washington. There used to be a staircase that began at ground level and descended down under the earth. It was said to be a low-grade entrance to the tomb of a wealthy local family. According to the legend, you had to go to the cemetery late at night and walk down these 13 steps. While descending the steps, you would not be able to hear anything. Once you had reached the bottom, if you turned around, you would be confronted by a vision of hell. They say that the vision would drive you insane. Those who watched people performing this ritual said that they witnessed the person stop at the bottom, turn around, and then collapse to their knees in horror. According to some reports, several children emerged nearly comatose from the steps. Many of them never uttered another word again. The 13 steps no longer exist. As the story goes, they were bulldozed or filled in with concrete years ago. Since then, there have been several no trespassing limitations, very severe no trespassing limitations on the cemetery, and even rumors of kids making expeditions late at night to Maltby Cemetery armed with shovels, hoping to unearth the 13 steps down to hell. And here are some witnesses. Number one, my girlfriend and I wanted to see this for ourselves. You have to go down these 13 steps and then you see a little chair. If you sit in the chair, it automatically means that you have sold your soul to the devil. It sounds really creepy. I was at church with my friend, and his pastor said that he went there when he was 16 years old, and it was the worst experience of his entire life. Witness number 2. A group of us headed out to the cemetery in Maltby. We made sure we got there as close to midnight as possible. After about an hour of searching around in the dark, we finally found it, the 13 steps. In the moonlight, you could not see the bottom. We tried using a flashlight, and we still could not see the bottom. It was frightening, and one of the girls was so freaked out that she could not even look down into the staircase. I decided I was going to go for it, but as I walked down the first 2 steps, I started to feel sick, so it was no go. Witness number 3. Or actually, no, here's witness number 2 continued. After the next 2 steps, I felt lightheaded as I decided to go further. When I got to the 6th step, I became so cold that I could barely breathe, and I could hear muffled yelling and screaming. I was not going any further. I could not even take the next step. When I turned to climb back up, I could feel something on my back, and I could not see out up to my friends clearly. When I finally reached the top of the staircase, I realized the yelling and screaming was coming from my friends. They were screaming that I had disappeared when I went down. I am 6 feet tall. I could not have been out of sight after having only gone down halfway. Needless to say, we were all completely freaked out and got out of there as quickly as possible. To this day, every now and then, I dream about the 13 steps that lead down to hell, and I always wake up in a cold sweat. So Maltby Cemetery is not the only one boasting the 13 steps. There's another cemetery in Palo called Pleasant Ridge Cemetery. And supposedly there's a set of stairs leading up to the cemetery gate that has 12 steps, but at night, a 13th step is said to appear. And I think I had a little bit to go with that legend. It's located in Iowa. And it says a few stories and legends.
I knew there was something wrong with Iowa.
Yeah, Pleasant Ridge Cemetery, better known as 13 Stairs Cemetery. And here's a stupid ad popping up. Better known as 13 Stairs Cemetery or 13 Steps, is located a few miles north of Palo, Iowa. A few stories and these ads. A few stories and legends that filled. It's the portal of hell putting out these ads. A few stories. A few stories and legends that fill this area is that of EVP ghostly voices, sightings of a red-eye growling dog, a witch that haunts the area, and floating orbs of light. Many of the headstones date back to the 1800s, which just adds to the legends. The witch legend comes from an infamous cracked tombstone.
A crack
headstone. No, a cracked tombstone.
Oh, okay.
The headstone is that of, this is a weird name, Thankful Blackburn. That's the name of this supposed witch. Thankful Blackburn. It states, "Remember, friends, as you pass by, what you are now, so once was I. What I am now, so you must be. Prepare in life to follow me." Oh, let's see what else it says. So the writer here says that as far as the 13 steps, she says, my friends and I visited this location some years back and read an article out loud about this witch. And while reading, we felt a strong gust of wind that felt as though it went right through us. It was October, but it was not windy, and this wind almost hurt. After that, we all laughed. We talked about why we thought it may be the tomb headstone might be cracked, and that's when we all heard a deep barking from the woods to our left. We were aware of those red-eyed ghost dog legends, and since there was 4 of us, we felt brave enough to go into the woods.
They're scared. They're scared.
I almost tear up talking about this, but in those woods is a body of water, most likely a creek. In the middle of it, we saw a figure. We called out, but it did not move. We started to joke again and then heard another bark from behind us.
Did you hear the one about the?
We shined a light and saw nothing. When we looked back to the creek, the figure was gone.
Nothing.
At this point, we had reached our limits. We started to go back to the graveyard, but we were scared at this point and went back to our cars only to see the same figure, clear as day, standing on the other side of my friend's car. It was a female. We had no idea how to respond. We just stood there, not moving. After about 10 seconds, the figure just walked away into some bushes without making a sound. It was truly, except what? It was truly an incredible experience.
Inconceivable.
So it sounds like the inconceivable. It sounds like the 13-step cemetery is worth a visit if you're near that area.
Yes. Well, I'm sure you've got the Darvaza crater there, the gates of hell, and Turkmenistan.
Let's see. I got Turkey's mysterious portal to the underworld. I've got
the desert, Karakum Desert, that has this eternal fire door to hell. Do you have that one?
Let me pull this. Is that the one that's in Turkey?
Well, it's Turkmenistan, but it's a Soviet country.
Let me get to the. Let me get back to the.
Do you have it?
Hold on. Let me see. Let me see. Do
you have it? It's 2/3 size of a football field.
Here it is. You're talking about the Darvaza crater.
That would be it. Yes.
Okay. Yes, I've got it right here.
You got it there, and I think that we have maybe a semi-photograph of this.
Yeah, there.
Right there. Is that what? This is a real photo. This is not an artist's depiction of it. This is the real deal, folks. How long has this thing been burning?
I guess we'll see. I think I sent you a picture. It was where it was really burning bright. Do you have that?
Well, I don't. But hold on. We will take care of business.
But that's fine.
I can do this. Just remain calm, cool, and collective.
I do.
Hold on.
I have an interesting article here.
The interesting articles are very interesting.
Yeah.
Yes. So there's all kind of images here. But that's the only one I saw that.
Okay.
But we'll get there. Don't sweat, Sherlock.
It's okay. So, so in, let me get it back up here. In the desert is a massive expanse of sun-scorched sand dunes.
Look at this.
Covering roughly 70% of Turkmenistan.
Turkmenistan.
You could wander through this parched 350,000 square kilometer badlands for days and only see the endless crests and valleys of the Karakum's barren wilderness. But if you make your way to the desert's north central plain, you may stumble upon a truly surreal sight. the Darvaza crater, a molten gas pit that has been spewing fire for decades and is known as the gates of hell. The story goes that in 1971, Soviet geologists were drilling for oil in the desert when they hit a pocket of natural gas. This caused the earth to collapse, forming 3 large sinkholes. In order to prevent the methane from leaking into the atmosphere, it's rumored that geologists lit one of them on fire, thinking it would burn out in a matter of weeks. But after Canadian explorer George Coronis set off on the first expedition to plumb the crater's depths in 2013, he discovered that no one actually knows how this hellish inferno came to be. According to local Turkmen geologists, the gaping 69-meter wide by 30-meter deep crater formed in the 1960s and was not lit until the 1980s. Yet, because gas and oil were highly prized commodities in Turkmenistan during Soviet rule, it appears any record of the crater's creation is now classified in top secret information. What is certain is that this unlikely methane belching fire pit has become one of the most popular tourist attractions in a country that only sees about 6,000 visitors per year. For much of the past decade, as the sun dips below the Karakum's sea of sand dunes, wide-eyed wanderers from near and far have come to witness this blazing coliseum of fire light up the desert sky. The gates of hell. Oh, that's a good picture right there.
The one I've got there, yeah. So one of my favorite stories, and I remember back in the, before, Art Bell used to be one of my favorite broadcasters. I don't know if you remember him or not, on Coast to Coast AM.
I think I've heard that name.
Oh gosh, he was the entertainer's entertainer. And and somewhere along the pathway in his middle of the night show, this guy Mel Waters came on, and he had found this hole on his property. It's called Mel's Hole. From Bigfoot to the disappearance of D.B. Cooper, the Pacific Northwest is full of mysteries, and another mystery buried deep in the hills of eastern Washington keeps resurfacing. Ellensburg, Washington, and its surrounding valleys and Manassas Ridge are beautiful in any season. Some believe what lies beneath is a deep, dark hole with supernatural powers. Mel's Hole was made famous because of an interview someone called himself Mel Waters claimed to live in Ellisburg, and he had this claim made on the Art Bell show, Coast to Coast AM, but no one really knows who Mel was, or if he really was, is a mystery, just like the hole is a mystery. The claim that it's 80,000 feet deep and full of paranormal powers. Back in 2002, Seattle Times reporter, led by Red Elk, set out to find the hole and struck out. Waters himself is a mystery, said he sold the property and won't say where it is. Few people know who he really is. So far, Waters exists only on radio waves, with a story many think is bunk, but tales of a deep hole in Ellisburg have circulated for years. Hoax or not, Waters' appearances before Bell's 10 million listeners have elevated an old local legend into a national paranormal mystery. And to this day, do we know? Do we actually know? Really? It began, and let me get a picture of Mel's Hole. I think I need to get Mel's Hole up here, don't I? Would that help if we got a picture of Mel's Hole?
Yeah, that would help. Mel's Hole. It's not Mel's Diner. It's Mel's Hole.
Yeah. Well, you would be thinking about Mel's Diner.
Yeah.
There's a picture purported, I should say, to be Mel's Hole. And this began in, as far as the public part of this tale, February 21st, 1997. A sensational and unbelievable tale. Mel Waters, he told Bell and his listeners about a strange and mysterious bottomless pit on his rural Washington state property and the eerie quality surrounding the pit. It became known as Mel's Hole. Many people became fascinated with the bottomless pit. The problem was Mel Waters refused to give its exact location, and no one could find it. Was it a hoax? Or was it, as Waters himself claims, purposely covered up by the United States government? Let us peer into Mel's Hole. When Mel Waters called into Art Bell's hit syndicated radio show in '97 to tell the world about Mel's Hole, he was contacting the host of a well-known show that featured tales of the unexplained. He knew his sensational story would be delivered to the right audience. The late night radio show, which combines, anyway, I'm not going to go into the history of the radio show. Let's go back to Mel's Hole. How's that? According to Mel, the pit is a natural hole on his property in Kittitas County, Washington, about 9 miles from the town of Ellensburg. He used the pit as his own personal dump, tossing trash and discarding items in the hole. He noticed, however, that he never heard any of the discarded items hit the bottom. Curious about the depth of the hole, Mel did an experiment. He used a fishing pole with a weighted line and dropped it in the pit to measure its depth. To his astonishment, the fishing line went down to more than 80,000 feet and still hadn't hit the bottom. A bottomless pit as deep as 80,000 feet would be odd enough, but Mel had more to tell about the mysterious place. He claimed that the hole did not produce an echo when he yelled into it. He also stated that his neighbor threw the carcass of his dead dog into the pit, but a few days later, he encountered his dog alive and well in the nearby woods. Sounds like Stephen King, huh? Pet Cemetery. He knew for certain it was his dog because it was wearing the same collar. Mel's own dogs, however, were terrified of the pit, refused to go anywhere near it. Mel also stated that he once brought his radio to the site, but he couldn't tune into his favorite station. Instead, the radio played unknown voices and old music. In addition to the '97 call Art Bell's Coast to Coast AM, Mel Waters appeared on the show in 2000 and 2002, each time telling more sensational claims about Mel's Hole. According to Waters, he once saw a black beam shoot out of the hole. He also stated that if he had metal objects near the pit's 9-foot wide opening, they would magically change into other metals. These claims were enough to arouse curiosity and, of course, skepticism. Adding fuel to the controversy was Mel Waters' claim that the government was covering up the wonders of Mel's Hole. Of course the government was involved. How could you not believe the government was involved? Mel stated that one day he was walking toward Mel's Hole when a man wearing a suit approached him, and behind the man, Waters could see several other people wearing official-looking biohazardous suits. The man with a plane crash, and that Waters was no longer allowed near the pit. Next, Waters said the government leased the land from him and paid him a generous amount of money to leave the property. So Waters used that money and he went to Australia. Mel Waters' story was sensational and unbelievable, but was it true? Many people say no. Investigators soon determined that there was no person living in the area by the name of Mel Waters. No one by that name ever owned property in Kittitas County. Furthermore, Waters had claimed that his wife worked for Central Washington University, yet that fact was untrue. Certainly, there are very deep holes, pardon the pun, found at various locations around the globe, but none of them as deep as Mel's Hole was said to be 80,000 feet. The deepest known cavern is about 7,188 feet deep, and the deepest mine shaft is 12,672 feet. And in 1989, the Russians drilled a borehole to the depth of 40,230 feet. But that's still only half the depth of the water claimed his pit was. Jack Powell, a geologist from the State Department of Natural Resources, explained that a hole as deep as 80,000 feet was a geological impossibility. Really? You think so? Going so deep into the Earth's core would cause the hole to collapse from the tremendous pressure and heat. So I don't know. You left again to ponder these many things, aren't you? Mel Waters was careful not to give the exact location of Mel's hole, but a handful of people say that they've seen it for themselves. One of them was Gerald Osborne, who goes by the name of Red Elk. This half Native American, half white medicine man told journalists in 2012 that he had been to Mel's hole several times beginning in 1961. And he backed up. My computer is acting silly here.
You too.
But when investigators asked Red Elk to take him to Mel's hole, he inexplicably could not find his way back to the site. A lot of mystery there. While most experts believe that Mel's Hole is a fantastic urban legend with no basis in fact, there are others who believe Mel's account of the mysterious bottomless pit and the ensuing government cover-up. There are numerous abandoned shafts in the area that could have served as the inspiration for the tale. But for a while there, Mel's Hole was a big, big thing. Big, 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 big thing. And let's see, okay. Now, Catherine says she was here. I don't know why she don't join us.
Oh, what?
Anyway, she said that they had a storm. Was it storming in your area this evening?
No, I didn't say. In fact, we had a lot of sun this afternoon.
I know they were talking. They were talking about some storms, but anyway.
Here.
So, I anytime we're going to talk about holes, you've got to talk about Mel's hole. So that's why I wanted to share that. But so, what is your next hole? By the way, it's going on 8 o'clock. This is Abnormal Alabama and myhauntedDolls.com. Kevin and I both have done many interesting and unusual and abnormal things with our lives. In some ways, it's kind of fascinating and amazing that either one of us is still alive. But are you sure we're still alive?
Oh.
Are you absolutely positive you could be watching two from beyond? Could. You know you could. How would you know? If you go back to Bible times, especially in the Old Testament, when these people had an interaction with angels, they looked like people. They could fool you. So maybe Kevin and I are angels. And we're here to share with you. Well, okay. So I'm an angel and Kevin's a demon.
I was going to be humble and say, well, I don't know. I've quite made angel.
Humble, Kevin, humble?
Yes, humble, Kevin, humble. What's so impossible about that?
Yeah, I'm looking for my heart pill now.
Nah, just take your heart pill over there.
I can't handle these lies.
Look, Satan's wearing glasses. Looking like that Anton, what's his name? That Satan guy.
You got it. You're out there.
Oh, we got the ring on. Ooh.
Come to my well.
Ooh.
Join me.
Ooh, I don't want to join you.
You have no choice.
No, yes, I do.
No, because I'm going to read. Yeah, look, I got him. Okay. Well, now we got a couple of people watching us here. Welcome to our really big shoot. We're talking about holes, and we're not talking about prostitutes or women. We're talking about
HOLES.
Yeah, and not even those kind of holes, but these are holes to hell. I've had a few girlfriends. I've had a few girlfriends I'd call holes to hell. Okay. Kevin is sharing. Wait a minute, Kevin. Promote one of your books anyway.
Oh, I wish I had pictures to put up there, but
You
just
know,
go to
show the book. Show the book. You got a
to
book?
my haunted doll. Nope, not here with me, Dad darn it. But just go to myhauntedDolls.com right up there, and you'll find them at the shop. I would recommend my haunted collection, which tells the stories about the first items, haunted dolls, and paintings I collected. And then, if that tickles your fancy, then check out the sequel, My Haunted Dolls: The Dark Side.
There's one thing about it. It's good to have your fancy tickled.
Yes, it is. It's because it's fancy. And I have supernatural novels out there. And if you, get your autographed copy there. If you rather Kindle, it's there. There's a few audio books.
You have your choice when you order these books. You can do one of two things. You can get Kevin right over there to send an 8x10 glossy photo of his natural mask self as he looks right now. Or he could take that mask off and do that picture and autograph it. Holding, he'll actually be holding the book that he's going to send to you. So, and also go to datingthedead.com. And I know there's a lot of people I know that have a problem getting a date. So you need to read my book and learn how to date the dead. And that's datingthedead.com. So there you go, folks. Somebody's in chat over there. Let's see what they're saying.
I still can't see any chats on here. What?
Yeah, she says, I look good. Well, of course I do. Thank you very much. Kevin, put your mask on so you can look good too.
That's so
there you go. What an improvement. What an improvement. What an improvement. All right, so let's get into the second hour of our really big show here. So, Kevin, what is the next hole? We're going to talk
Hola.
Hola.
Gates of Hell. This one is here in New Jersey. Well, here in our country, but it's in New Jersey. And if you got that picture, it looks like looking inside a deep, dark railroad tunnel with the bricks going around. Do you have that?
Wait a minute. I got to find the picture of the big brick, big black brick.
Yeah, right there. There it is. That's the one right there.
Okay, let's improve the aesthetics of the show here.
Look at you. Aren't you so funny?
Because I'm a Commodian. I need to be flushed once a week. I'm a Commodian.
And here's the story with this tunnel.
And by the way, look at that. Look at that.
How come I'm not seeing the chats? This ain't fair.
I know. I got to figure out how to get you. Go ahead and do your thing. I'm going to see if I can change something.
Well, see, I could see it last week, but for some reason I can't see it tonight. That doesn't make sense.
I don't know, Kevin.
It's weird. Okay.
It's so weird. What is this button there?
Nah. Well, let's see.
Huh?
You want me to go ahead and do the story of the New Jersey?
Do the Jersey girls.
There is probably no better way to prove one's courage than by walking straight into the gaping maw of hell, the gates of which can be found in the town of Clifton, Passaic County. This legendary passageway, which you see right there in the picture, leads to a network of underground tunnels and storm sewers, and some say to the lair of the evil one himself. You might think that the term gates of hell would be a common nickname for any dark and foreboding entrance to the underground. Yet in all our years of research, we have found no other subterranean passage in the state with the same moniker as this Clifton site.
No.
It is a very old tunnel with an arched stone ceiling about 8 feet high. The light quickly evaporates behind you as you enter, and you are soon enveloped in total darkness. Inside can be an extremely dangerous place, even without the presence of Satan. The tunnel system was built as a drainage runoff called Weasel Brook. And in times of heavy rain, the usual trickle of water through the tunnel can become a raging torrent almost instantly. Generations of local teenagers have told stories of what lay deep inside these darkened corridors and have dared each other to venture forth. Are their tales an accurate depiction of what lies beyond the murky threshold of the gates of hell? Or are they more a window into the dark fears which can be found inside us all? Only those who are brave enough or foolhardy enough to enter those gates can say for sure. Growing up in Clifton, it was not hard to learn of the stories of wrongdoings and evil happenings at this spot known as Gates of Hell. My first recollections of this place were from the kids at the local BMX bike jumps. They would tell stories of people entering these tunnels and never returning. Satanic sacrifices, decaying carcasses, upside down crosses, satanic graffiti, anything dealing with the darkness in human nature was down there. Most chilling to me was a secret room, many layers under the ground. This room was only to be entered if you possessed powers that enabled you to lift axes that weighed thousands of pounds and block the door. Inside this room was a dungeon that housed a human skull, or so it was said. There were 7 layers of tunnels under the ground, and the lower you got, the closer you came to meeting the devil. I always wanted to find this spot to satisfy my own craving of knowledge and wonderment of the unknown, but at that age, Clifton seemed as big as the universe, and finding them was a bit further than Mom would let me ride my bike. When I was 16, I was introduced to the gates for the first time. My friend asked me if I had ever been to the gates of hell. After a few dead ends, we finally found a route to the tunnels. It was dark from all of the tree cover, and my stomach began to drop as we climbed down to the tunnel entrances were located on. I could feel the fear running from my feet straight to my shoulders. All that I had heard and envisioned for the last half of my life was hitting me at once. Looking at the entrance was more terrifying than anything else. Unlike the other tunnels, which were round and had streams of water flowing from them, this entrance was square and had no water flow. At this point, I was ready to leave and go home. I had seen the entrance, and I now believed everything I heard just by looking at it. It was pure evil. But I realized that the only way to conquer the gates was to enter the tunnels. Deep inside the dark tunnel, we started to hear a strange knocking sound. This was a shock to the system since it had been totally quiet except for the flow of the water. That's when we ran and got the hell out of there. I wasn't sure what we heard. My friend swears it was someone whispering some chant deeper in the tunnels. Years later, I made several trips back to the gates of hell. However, after telling my story, I could not convince anyone to venture into the tunnels as far as my friend and I did that one summer day. And then here's another story related to the tunnel about Red-Eyed Mike. According to this witness, I have explored every inch of Clifton, and nowhere is as eerie as the gates of hell. It's said that a spirit known as Red-Eyed Mike guards the tunnel. If you knock on the railroad ties above the entrance in groups of 3, you will hear a loud horn sound from within the tunnel. I have heard this horn on occasion and have seen rocks hurling themselves out of the tunnel with no person visible inside. I also once witnessed a small, human-shaped figure run out of the tunnel towards Weasel Brook Park with superhuman speed. I have been told that this is Red-Eyed Mike. According to another story I've heard, is that at the very end of the gates is the actual portal to hell. There is a groove about 20 feet and about 40 feet, is 20 feet deep and about 40 feet across. At the very center of the groove is smoothed out granite and a manhole, which is supposed to be one of the portals leading to hell. But no one dared to lift the lid to see for themselves if that is actually indeed true. And that is the story of the gates of hell in New Jersey.
In Jersey.
New Jersey. Not in Jersey.
In Jersey? Have you been to Jersey?
Yes, in Jersey.
Well, I'm going to share a story.
Oh, wait, you are? Oh.
From Pennsylvania.
Hmm.
And to be exact, you may have this story, and that's just too freaking bad.
You freaking bad. Well.
From Hellam Township. Notice the Hell part.
Hello.
From Hellam Township. So the Seven Gates of Hell is a popular piece of urban folklore, a series of portals in the Hellam Township, which open an entrance to the fiery pit below. There are many different tellings of the tale, though one of the more popular versions links the gate to a former insane asylum on the outskirts of town. This story describes a fire at the asylum in the 19th century, which allowed the dangerous inmates to escape, running wild. Many of them were recaptured, beaten, or killed. Other tormented souls were trapped inside a series of gates, which they haunt to this day. It is said that only the first gate is visible by daylight, and this lies on a private land just off the town's Trout Run Road. By night, other gates become visible in this quiet, wooded corner of the township. Passing through all seven will take the visitor straight to hell. And it's reported that nobody has yet passed five and returned to talk about the experience. Another story deals with a local doctor, accounts of whom range from eccentric to psychotic. He was said to have owned the land on which he built a series of peculiar gates leading deeper and deeper into the forest. The myth has caused a lot of upset and frustration for the residents of Hellam Township, and the township's own website has denounced the stories as nonsense. There was never an asylum on Trout Run Road, while the notorious doctor, who did in fact exist, only ever built one gate on his property. At least that's what they know of. Other claims that Hellam Township was named after hell itself are also dispelled. The name comes from a corruption of Hellamshire, an area of South Yorkshire in England. Try as you might to dissuade visitors, however, Hellam Township still receives its fair share of hell seekers, as well as numerous satanic cults who reputedly use Hellam as a meeting place from time to time. There have been numerous instances of residents calling the police as visitors who trespass through private land in search of hell's seven gates. And there, my friends, is the story of Hellam Township in Pennsylvania.
Oh.
Yes. So what? Well, let's go to one more story. One more story. I want to give Kevin a little bit of a break here, as if he needed one, because he does nothing all week.
Oh, my hand.
Saint,
Why you so
Saint,
tired?
Saint Patrick's Purgatory. Have you heard of this?
No, I haven't heard this one yet.
Oh, St. Patrick's Purgatory. Well, let's talk about St. Patrick's Purgatory. Hold on. That's not where I want to go. I want to find the right one to go to. The right one to go to.
Right one.
The right one. St. Patrick's Purgatory. In Dante's Inferno, our hero passes through gates of hell, which bear an inscription, the final line of which is the famous phrase, Lasciate ogni speranza voi ci entrate. Abandon all hope, ye who enter here. No such ominous eloquence greets the visitor in Ireland's gates of hell. Two sites that have acquired legendary reputations for being entrances to the underworld. One has been shut by papal order since 1625, and the other is a fetid mud hole associated with cats. One is firmly Christian, and the other purely pagan. One is now chiefly regarded as an ancient seat of royalty, and the other an ancient site of strict pilgrimage. In this place, we shall look at the Christian gates of hell, a site that was known throughout the whole of Europe for centuries as being a place where the unbeliever could expect to end up in if they did not find the light, the truth, and the way. Spitting out hot molten lava with ensuing devastating consequences, one can appreciate why volcanoes have long since been associated as possible earthly locations for the gates of hell. Into the medieval period, Mount Etna in Sicily was considered to be an entryway to hell. During this period, Icelanders also believed that their own Mount Hekla was a gateway to hell. Hekla's neighboring volcano, though, if not quite bagging the dubious title of the gates of hell, was regarded by many as creating hell on earth in the spring of 2010 when it erupted, thus shutting down European airspace due to dense dust clouds. It even briefly came back in 2011 and had President Obama rearranging his flight schedule from Ireland lest he suffer from its evil dust cloud, the most powerful man on earth, indeed. However, by the most famous of medieval gateways was St. Patrick's Purgatory in Lunderg County, Donegal, Ireland. According to legend, the site dates from the 5th century when Christ showed St. Patrick a cave, sometimes referred to as a pit or a well, on Station Island that was an entrance to hell. Legend maintains that St. Patrick had grown discouraged by the doubts of his potential converts, who told him they would not believe his teachings until they had substantial proof. St. Patrick prayed that God would help him relate the word of God and convert the Irish people. In return, God revealed to him a pit in the ground, which he called purgatory. By showing this place to the people, they would believe all that he had said. And by witnessing purgatory, the people would finally know the reality of the joys of heaven and the torments of hell. Fair enough, but let's dig a little deeper here. Charles Baudelaire famously stated that the greatest trick the devil ever played was convincing the world that he did not exist. This sentiment was used with great effect in the denouncement of 1995's modern classic, The Usual Suspects. Besides the blarney and bluff of our perceptions of St. Patrick, the greatest trick he ever played was convincing pagan Ireland that the devil did in fact exist and to look lively, or else they'd be getting to know him for eternity. St. Patrick remains a phenomenon, one of Kevin's favorite words, in Ireland. Revered by all as the quintessential Irishman, yet in truth a Welsh shepherd, remembered with a holy feast day every March that has notoriously become the world's greatest excuse to get hammered, as in inebriated or drunk. There are four iconic sites of St. Patrick on the island of Ireland. St. Patrick's Purgatory in Dougal, Croagh Patrick in Mayo, the Hill of Tara in Leith, and the Rock of Cashel in Tipperary. Interspersed with these four are plenty of holy wells and other sites from Slimish to Downpatrick that peripatetic Paddy is believed to have been. Each of these locations serves as a purpose in the phenomenon of the saint's mission to convert pagan Ireland to Christianity. On Croagh Patrick, mountain of Mayo, he spent 40 days of Lent where he was harassed by demons in the form of blackbirds, clustered so densely that the sky was black, but he continued to pray and rang his bell to disperse the assailants. An angel then appeared to tell the saint that all his petitions for the Irish people would be granted and that they would retain their Christian faith until Judgment Day. Message: come follow me, and you shall be saved against the dark forces upon this day of reckoning. Patrick famously made his way to the Hill of Tara, seat of the High King of Ireland. For good measure, the legend has him changing into a deer to get past the guards. Arriving on the eve of Beltane, now Easter, thanks to him, he lit a paschal fire on the nearby hill of Slane. At this time of year, it was pagan practice to put out all fires before a new one was lit in Tara. When the Druids in Tara saw the light from the Slane, they warned King Lancashire that he must extinguish it or it would burn forever. Patrick was summoned to Tara, and on the way, he and his followers chanted the hymn known as the Morista, or St. Patrick's breastplate. The king could not put out the fire, and while he himself did not convert, he allowed Patrick to continue with his mission to convert without recourse. Perhaps the best known legend of St. Patrick involves the Shamrock, the little creature that has gone on to become famous throughout the world as a symbol of Irish heritage. After training as a priest and bishop, Patrick arrived in Ireland in AD 432 and immediately set about trying to convert the pagan Celts who inhabited the island. Having previously lived and worked there, he was very probably already aware that the number 3 has special significance in Celtic tradition and indeed in many pagan beliefs, and he applied this knowledge in a clever way. Down in Cashel in County Tipperary, he used the shamrock, a 3-leaf growth which grows all over the island, to explain the Christian concept of the Holy Trinity, the theory that God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit are each separate elements of just one entity. As always, he had the devil not far away from the action. Flying over Ireland as he was wont to do, he espied Patrick in Cashel. The devil bit a large chunk of rock from a nearby mountain and hurled it at Patrick, missing him, but creating the rock of Cashel. The devil's bit, as it is called to this day, can easily be found while the rock became a center for anointing Irish bishops for hundreds of years. What was really going on was ecclesiastical and real. The bottom line is, this gives you a brief background as to St. Patrick's Purgatory. The centerpiece of the House of God in Ireland was built in Donegal with the gates of hell. St. Patrick's Purgatory and its symbolic value spread across Europe for centuries afterwards. Even in Denmark, we have Hamlet swearing on an oath to St. Patrick after seeing his father's ghost doomed to suffer in purgatory. But nothing works better on an indifferent pagan mob than showing them a vivid and terrifying vision of the gates of hell through which they fly, if they do not ultimately follow of their way. Heaven, repent and be humble, lest your ongoing indifference serve to burn for an eternity of hell or wallow in purgatory. Wake up, Kevin.
I am awake.
Look at that face.
Yes, look at my face. Look at my face.
So now that I gave you a break, do you have any other stories?
Yes, I have.
Gates of hell, portals to hell. Do you have anything?
Yes, I have this one that's also from Pennsylvania, which was different from what you had shared. It's like a different location in Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania.
This one is the Dowington Gates of Hell.
The gates of hell.
Near the twin tunnels on Valley Creek Road in Dowington is Chester County's entrance to the netherworld. Old tales of the area talk of a pair of red cast iron gates in the vicinity of Sawmill Road, leading to a long abandoned mansion. This place was the scene of a grisly gun murder in which a father killed his entire family. The house lay empty afterwards, left exactly as it had been, right down to the bullet holes in the walls and doors, and all the bodies were buried on the grounds. Rumors have circulated constantly for the past 50 years about the activities of cults, Satanists, and mafiosi in the mansion and its grounds. Other stories are more supernatural and talk of a portal for angels to descend to the underworld. Thankfully, there has been no talk of a revolving door allowing otherworldly residents to visit the earth. But most explorers who visit the area nowadays can find no signs of any kind of gate. Chain link fences surround the likeliest old properties in the area, and the yards look unattended. As you follow the gravel track into the woods and make your way through the trails, no iron gates are anywhere to be found. You see stone ruins of various dwellings, the odd piece of litter, and lots of no trespassing signs and yellow caution tape, but no gates. Some of the few people who boost themselves over the chain link fence to explore the overgrown yard of the larger property in the area where they assume the original iron gate once stood have come back with tales of lanterns glowing in the abandoned building, illuminating furniture covered with dust cloth. Others claim they were chased off by large and very real-looking dogs. Not mythical hellhounds, just plain Dobermans. So were the real iron gates in this story the real inspiration for the gates of hell? Or did the legend spring from the supernatural portal of some wilder stories of the area? At this point, the truth is hidden in a tangle of contradictory stories, but Dowington thrill seekers do still tramp the woods in their quest. If any of them have found it, they've certainly not returned to tell us about it. And then here's another one. For a nice little town in southern Pennsylvania, York seems to be unusually blessed with portals to the underworld. Actually, I think you've already shared that story about Helen. So let's move on to the Hell Gates and the Toad Road Asylum. There is a mysterious history in the dark underside of York, Pennsylvania. It is a story of death and despair. It is the story of Toad Road. And it is so heinous that its name has been changed to Trout Run Road. In the 1800s, a colossal mental asylum stood in the woods of York off of Toad Road. Because of its remote locale, firefighters were unable to get there when the asylum caught fire. Many patients burned to death in the upper floors of the buildings, and hundreds of others fled into the surrounding woods. Scared by the reputations of the asylum's inmates, the search party was extraordinarily aggressive, beating some they found into submission and killing others. Hospitals, especially asylums, are places of sadness and pain, even under the best of times. The hospital of Toad Road truly experienced the worst of times. The psychic impact of these horrible events forever cursed Toad Road. People nowadays say that the area is in fact so cursed that it is the location of gateways to hell. 7 days. York officials have constructed 7 doors along the paths to the former site of the asylum. Most local adventure seekers never even locate the first one. For those who manage to find the path, it is said that the sense of evil and overpowering feelings of death will turn even the bravest explorer back by the 5th gate. Apparitions are often seen along these paths. Strange noises and menacing screams are heard frequently. Legends say that if one did manage to get past all 7 gates, they would be standing upon the burnt remains of the mental hospital, a bona fide passageway to hell itself. So, man, Pennsylvania has many stories of gates of hell. Oh.
No doubt. All right.
What are you mumbling about over there?
Well, I'm gonna try that.
Rawr.
8:28 here on our live stream for Tuesday night. This is Tuesday Night Terror. Terror. Are you terrified or terrible night or terrible Tuesdays right here? And I am seeing that the mask man is none other than Kevin Kane, who God, he has improved his look so tremendously tonight. Cancer. That's what real users say. It makes you just want to reach out and hug him.
Well, okay
Come on, my brother. So, do you have what about Kansas? Have you been to Kansas? Have you got one from Kansas?
Oh, I don't have one from Kansas. Do you have one from Kansas?
Yeah, it's a cemetery out there. You know, we're gonna see about this. See about this. See about this. Yes, it's been around for a while. Actually, it's not a new story. So, where are we? Well,
Kansas.
Kansas.
Are we in Kansas?
Is Dorothy around? Okay. Ooh, okay. General legend. This is, by the way, Stall Cemetery. It's a small yet derelict cemetery situated opposite of Stall, Skull, United Methodist Church. A grave within the cemetery marked with a tombstone reading, you ready? Witch. But it's spelled Wittich. Wittich? A church once positioned within the cemetery, now no longer standing. A tall pine tree near the church, also no longer standing, and a road formerly known as Devil's Road, but they renamed it in the 90s. The modus operandi varies depending on which area of subject one chooses to focus on. Generally, though, agreed that the activity in each of these areas is due to the subject's primary function, which is as a gateway. Most
Oh.
general legend associated with the subject states that the devil makes an appearance at Stall Cemetery not once, but twice a year. Once on All Hallows Eve and once again on the spring equinox. He is said to appear at midnight each time. His choice of locale is due to the fact that Stall Cemetery is where the alleged gateway to hell is said to be situated. According to some reports, a set of stone stairs, leading underground lay hidden somewhere on the property, which, if one were to descend, would take one directly to the entrance of hell itself.
Mm.
The precise location of the stairs remains hotly debated, with possibilities including directly by the church, directly in the church, or in a copse of 5 trees which once stood, making out the shape of a pentagram.
Oh.
Beyond the complications regarding the location, the stairs are also reportedly difficult to find due to any number of possible explanations. They are overgrown. They were deliberately concealed. They appear only at specific times of the year, or they may only be used by the devil during his biannual pilgrimage. Regardless, it's not recommended that one seek out these steps, let alone attempt to travel down them. The Stall Cemetery also houses, or housed, as the case may be, several other artifacts of note. Gravestones, which I mentioned earlier, marked only with the name Wittich, is said to hold one of 2 things: the bones of a child born to the devil himself. Kevin, I didn't know you bones were lying in Stall Cemetery. An old gnarled pine tree said to have grown straight up through a tombstone, reportedly served as gallows for witch hangings, although the tree was torn down in 1998. And of course, there is, or was, the church. Until the early 2000s, rumor had it that the long-abandoned evangelical Emmanuel Church, positioned right near the cemetery, had seen so many black masses held inside its walls that the very structure itself had become possessed. This alleged possession is said to have manifested in several different ways. First, although the roof was long since gone, it was said that no rain ever fell inside the church, no matter how badly a storm might be raging outside. Second, it was said that bottles thrown against the sides of the church would not break, regardless as to the force used to hurl them. But it's also said that the black masses aren't the only reason for the church's malevolence. It's been alleged that the building itself was born bad. A murder is said to have occurred in a barn that reportedly once stood on the parcel of land later occupied by the church. A stable hand, not a stable hand, but a stable, you understand, a horse stable, and allegedly fatally stabbed the mayor early in history. The barn was reportedly converted into a church to hide its sordid past. A church which was in turn gutted by fire. The church was finally torn down in 2002. However, stories still persist of presences felt nearby, of instances of lost time, and of other unpleasant experiences. Old maps subject also contain a road that newer maps do not. A road labeled with the ominous title of Devil's Road. Here, two tragedies are said to have occurred early in the circuit's history. In the early 20th century, a boy was killed after venturing into a field his father was burning, and a few years later, a man went missing and was later found hanging from a tree. The mystery of the man's death was never solved. Even left unsolved, however, the incident offers a compelling reason never to find or walk down Devil's Road alone or with a companion at night or even during the day. The devil has never been seen at Stoll Cemetery, either on All Hallows Eve or the spring equinox. Indeed, twice, several hundred people gathered at the cemetery on that particular observance. Once, March 20th, 1978 for the spring equinox, and once October 30th, 1988 for All Hallows Eve to see if the stories were true. However, the devil failed to appear both times. So, the October 1988 incident prompted local law enforcement to begin heavily policing the property, ticketing any and all trespassers found on cemetery grounds. So take that as a warning. The devil does not want to be seen, and the local community does not want to see you. Maybe they're hiding something they don't want you or I to know. Maybe there's something nefarious. Maybe there's still a satanic cult, and the black mass is still being conducted on this property at Stoll Cemetery to this day. Who knows? But I do know this. I'm going to turn this over to Kevin so he can tell us another story.
Yes. Did you know there's actually a Hell's Gate right here in the state of Alabama?
Yeah, absolutely. It's down in Montgomery.
Well, I was speaking of the one in Oxford, Alabama, known as the Hell's Gate Bridge.
Oh,
If you're making a trip to the public supermarket or to the Home Depot at the Oxford Commons Shopping Center in Oxford, Alabama, there are easier and safer ways to get there than by crossing Hell's Gate Bridge. If you don't know to look for it, you'd likely never find it. Even though it lies not half a mile away from Oxford Commons, the small broken down bridge sits tucked away in the woods at a creek crossing no one dares use anymore. To be fair, you could not use it even if you wanted to. It's been blocked at either end with cement blocks and chain link fencing to prevent anyone from setting foot on it, because it's literally falling apart. But if you wanted to, is the key phrase there. No one truly wants to use Hell's Gate Bridge. It's too haunted for that. Hell's Gate Bridge is not its official name, of course. It's not even clear whether it has an official name. Located on Boiling Springs Road in Oxford, it bridges the banks of the Chocolaco Creek, or at least it once did. It's been disused for at least a decade, or more than that now, because of its terrible condition. A truss bridge, Hell's Gate Bridge, was built sometime around 1930. By 1992, however, it had decayed into poor condition, according to an inspection from January of that year. Its superstructure, meanwhile, dropped down from poor to serious in November of 2000. The result is a seriously spooky-looking crossing, and indeed, given its derelict stat, it's perhaps unsurprising that it plays host to a ghost story, too. It's unclear when the legend originated, but it would have had to have been no earlier than the 1960s. The story itself is set in the 1950s. Sometime during that decade, again, it's not specified when, a pair of young lovers driving across the bridge were said to have tragically careened off the structure, perishing in the waters of Chocolaco Creek below. But although the lovers may have died, they have not moved on. It's said that if you drive to the bridge at night, park your car in the middle of it, and turn off all the vehicle's lights, you might end up with an additional passenger in your back seat. You might not see them or hear them or even know they're there, but if you look closely later on, you'll notice something about the seat. It will be wet, as if someone had just emerged from the water and taken a seat right there. There's another story too, though, one that accounts for the moniker Hell's Gate Bridge. It is said that if you stop on the bridge while driving and looking back behind you, you won't see the entrance to the bridge on Boiling Springs Road. Oh no, instead, you'll see the fiery gates of hell. Admittedly, there does not seem to be much of a connection between this tale and that of the ill-fated lovers. But then again, maybe we just had not put two and two together. Maybe that was why they lost control of their vehicle in the first place. Perhaps they glanced behind them and saw hell itself, receiving such a fright that they accidentally drove straight off the bridge. Again, we don't know much about where these stories came from or when they first arose. The car crash legend in particular is suspiciously much like those of the Crybaby Bridge legends and the spooky hitchhiker stories. But as far as the bridge itself, you're not able to drive on it anymore. But
Well,
the Hell's Gate legend still persists, even with that, because you can still use your own vessel, your body, to walk out on the bridge. And some say that if you walk onto it and turn to look back, you'll still see the flaming gates of hell behind you. But run, get off that bridge before they suck you into the grasp of the Dark One.
So now, let's take a journey down to New Orleans, Louisiana.
New Orleans?
The gates of Guinea, according to this local tradition. Listen to this. According to the teachings of voodoo, the souls of the dead reside in a portion of the underworld known as Guinea. This is not a place of torture or punishment, but rather a murky plane which spirits must pass through before reaching the deep waters where they'll be reunited with their ancestors. Guinea is presided over by the Loa, known as Baron Samedi. Often depicted as a skeleton in corpse paint, dressed in a top hat and tails, the Baron is a powerful symbol of death and rebirth, guarding the crossroads which form portals to other worlds. Most important of all of these portals are the gates of Guinea themselves. Theories regarding the gates of Guinea vary from one voodoo practitioner to another. Some see the seven gates as a metaphor for the 7 days after death, according to voodoo beliefs. The soul remains close to its corpse the first week, during which time the deceased is at the highest risk of being zombified by hoodoo magicians. During this symbolic period, the soul passes from one gate, followed by another, to be met by Baron Samedi as the seventh and escorted to the land of the dead. Others believe the gates of Guinea have their physical counterpart confirmed. Voodoo practitioners in New Orleans have sometimes claimed that the 7 gates are located in various local cemeteries scattered around Canal Street. runs through the city's French Quarter. At one point, there were a total of 17 different burial grounds located in this district, placing Canal Street at the heart of a veritable city of the dead. Nearby sites such as the St. Louis Cemetery and the St. Louis Cemetery Number 2 present themselves as likely spots for a gateway, along with a range of other potential locations in the area, such as Greenwood Cemetery, the Cypress Grove Cemetery, and the St. Patrick's Cemetery. Some say the crucifix form of Baron Samedi's personal signal, or V, indicates the Canal Street crossroads, which hide the final gateway to the V. It's been suggested that the 7 gates themselves can be found by deciphering the V, plotting the signal's 7 stars into a network of streets surrounding the crossroads. One popular theory indicates that the tomb of Marie Laveau, a powerful 19th century voodoo priestess, whose remains were supposedly interred in the St. Louis Cemetery Number 1, marks the first star of spiritual. This would place the gates of the V somewhere around the crossing of Canal Street, Mason Street, the other stars on the V marking tombs or monuments in the nearby streets. The order the gates are open is also of key significance. Approached incorrectly, the gates can allow dangerous spirits to enter the world of the living, dragging the unwary seeker, body and soul, back with them to the land of the dead. Traditional rhyme amongst voodoo practitioners of New Orleans is said to describe the proper timing for opening the gates of Gedi: 7 nights, 7 moons, 7 gates, 7 tombs. It is also critical that a seeker pays due respect to the guardian of each gate. These are all power Loas set the task of keeping the living out of the land of the dead. They must be appeased with ritual offerings and are put to anger. At the time of Marie Laveau, a list was compiled of the breed who guarded each gate. Anyone intent on entering Gedi should prepare to meet the guardians in the following order. Here is the 7 gates and who you would meet as guardians. The first gate, Baron Lacroix. The second gate, Gedi Nebo. The third gate, Gedi Pumat. The fourth gate, Baron Cemetery. The fifth gate, Gedi Babaco. The sixth gate, Baron Criminal. The seventh gate, Baron Samedi. It's said that the 7 Gedi gateways are at their most active and therefore easier to open on traditional annual holidays such as Christmas, New Year's, Mardi Gras, All Saints Day, and All Souls Day, in addition to Ancestors Day, 12th night, and St. John's Eve. So, would you like to take a trip to New Orleans and go through the 7 gates?
I wonder why it's always 7. It's always the number 7.
7 is a number of completeness.
Ooh, complete.
And
Complete hell.
6 in biblical terms, you know, the number of the beast is 666, because 6 is 1 less than perfection. You fall short.
Ooh.
If you are studying in numerology on those subjects.
Ah. Ooh.
So we have time for another story.
Yeah, see, that was kind of all of mine there, but I could whip up something right quick here.
Oh, wait a minute. I stole your story.
No, it's
Have you got Hecla Iceland?
no, I don't have that one.
Oh, I'm not going to steal it. Find it. your story time.
Iceland, Hell's Gate. Well, what is it? Mount
Hekla.
Hekla.
H-E-K-L-A.
The medieval gate to hell. Where are my glasses here?
Since
Oh,
the year 874, it
yeah.
erupted 20 times.
Oh, Hekla proudly stands as a dominant backdrop of the vast southern lowlands. It is the center of a volcanic system containing a number of crater rows and tuff ridges to the northeast and southwest of the mountain. The framed and very productive volcano looks like a high cone, seen from the south or north, but resembles an upturned boat viewed from the east or west. The crest, highest in the middle, is about 5 kilometers long, lined with craters. Snow and fern crowns the mountain, and a small glacier nestles on the high northwestern flank. Hekla is mostly made of lava and tephra, up to about 8,000 to 9,000 years old. But within recorded history, the eruptions number over 20. The most recent eruptions occurred in 1947, 1970, 1980, 81, 91, and the year 2000. Large eruptions may last more than a year. The most recent ones, however, lasted for up to a few weeks. Many lava flows surround Hekla, making an approach difficult as the lava is both rough and dodgy. Most ascents start on the tephra plains of Skoloviar, somewhat to the northwest of the mountain. In 2009, a warning was issued to hikers. Hekla could erupt in the coming years, with a very short prelude, approximately 1 hour, according to geophysical monitoring. And let me see. So what is it about Hell's Gate on this thing? Here we go. I got it. I've got it here. All right. After the eruption of 1104, stories probably spread deliberately through Europe by Cistercian monks told that Hekla was the gateway to hell. The Cistercian monk Herbert of Clairvaux wrote in his De Miraculis, the renowned fiery cauldron of Sicily, which men call hell's chimney, that cauldron is affirmed to be like a small furnace compared to this enormous inferno. A poem by the monk Benedict from circa 1120 about the voyages of St. Brendan mentions Hekla as the prison of Judas. Ooh. In the Flatty Book Annal, it was recorded that during the 1341 eruption, people saw large and small birds flying in the mountain's fire, which were taken to be souls. In the 16th century, Caspar Pusser wrote that the gates of hell could be found in the, quote, bottomless abyss of Hekla fell, end quote. The belief that Hekla was the gate to hell persisted until the 19th century. There is still a legend that witches gather on Hekla during Easter. Easter, huh? Why not Halloween? So that's what I have here on Hekla.
So here we are, folks, in the last 5 minutes. Let's go back and revisit our recording from the depths of hell, taken in Siberia in the late, around 1970, early 60s. Yeah, that kind of sums it up there, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's scary as hell.
Well, remember to join us everywhere that you can think to join us. And we'll do this little outro little thing here right quick. So, happy Oval, Alabama. Don't forget. And Kevin has really improved his looks tonight. Yes.
Yeah.
So congratulate him on that.
Creepy clown music.
So, do you have a subject matter for next week's show?
Hey, how about creepy clown? Well, let's see. I've already worn the mask tonight, so
You know that we could do a show about that because remember a few short years ago everybody was freaking out about clowns.
yeah.
So we could come up with a lot of creepy clown stories.
Ooh, creepy clowns.
Remember datingthedead.com. You can buy my books. There's links right there. You can buy it straight off of that site, or you can go to Amazon.com. You can even go to Lulu.com and buy my books. I just got a little royalty check from Lulu, and I get a little bit of money from Amazon. So my books are selling slowly but surely. But
Ooh,
I'd
me
like to
too.
sell a lot. I'd like to sell a lot more books.
Yep.
So I know some of mine are not spooky. Most of my books are more, like invest in yourself and all that kind of stuff, relationship books and so forth. But if you're watching us, clearly you need some kind of self-love.
Ooh.
So, Kevin, myhaunteddogs.com. He lives in a house with not only his father, but also over 300 haunted items. And we start now each show off with him doing a spirit box session. And sometimes it gets quite interesting. Other times it's quite boring.
Gosh. It's never boring. Never.
Never, never, never. Every Tuesday night, 7 p.m., 2 hours of this insanity. Tuesday Night Terror. So with that, next Tuesday's Clown Week.
Yes.
Bring in the clowns. Good night, and
Good night.
may Hazgaba Hulu bless you.
Ah.